zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone, podcast.
Why did I bring you here?
This should be war.
Hey guys, it's your girl Sean. And again, who is not in the building? False. Too busy at the damn Raphael Sadiq concert. But I didn't want to leave you guys without at least some kind of male energy. Actually, it's going to be a bunch of male energy on this particular podcast, but I needed to bring my arch nemesis, or at least my podcast nemesis, on the show. Tucson, can we put the game down for a second so I can introduce you properly?
This raggedy little studio y'all got.
Don't be talking about odd stuff.
You know I love y'all. You know y'all like the B-level version of us.
Get the fuck out. I think you all know him, and if you don't, this is Tu Warner from the Herb and Two. What is it? The Thugalicious.
Don't front like you don't know.
Podcast.
Herb and Two Intellectual Thuggers, the greatest podcast in the city of Chicago.
Better than Corner Combo?
Stop it. Yes. What do you mean? Everybody knows this.
Let me talk some podcast.
Stop it. I love everybody, but we're the best. You don't
sure?
think we're the best?
Y'all ain't won no awards. They have.
Who cares?
Fair, that's fair, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay. We the people's chat. No, I'm just playing, man.
We
I
gotta
love
start some
everybody.
kind of podcast.
Yeah, I'm just playing, man. Everybody know I love him.
So I'm excited to have Two on. Two
Be false was tired of you, huh? I understand.
No, he want. I mean, maybe that's maybe.
I can understand. I can relate.
First of all, Two.
No, get to your point. What
you
you doing?
even been around me in like a year.
It's enough. It's enough. You know I love you. It's
You know,
just,
at
the
any
energy
point,
is
you can
irritating.
leave.
Stop
I can do this. Anywho, so of course I wanted to bring back. I pontificated the last time I was by myself, but I was like, people want to watch me argue with people. So
that's why you called me? You think we're gonna argue?
No, well, we are.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the entire point of this next segment. So let's come up with our first segment, Ron.
The fact that you got this cup too is terrible.
I do not have a stand.
It's the same looking cup.
Me and my fellow Black conservatives going to HBCUs to engage in conversations for which apparently the mere act of having conversations of an opposing viewpoint is considered to be a huge no-no, especially when it comes to these ideological slaves, which just goes to show how well these Black liberals have been trained to reject anyone that tries to get them to think critically so they can unlock the shackles within their own minds. I mean, even Voltaire states it that a man is free the moment he wishes to be. But the problem with so many Blacks is that they've been institutionalized with these critical theories that have sedated their minds within the confines of this comfortable slavery. That they would much rather go back into the matrix and enjoy the comforts of conformity. Or better yet, never leave the matrix at all, right? And this is the slavery that they will never admit out loud that they're ensconced in. They must act, they must believe, they must behave, they must think a certain way or else they're... So this X post is causing a huge uproar of me and my fellow Black conservatives.
Okay, so if you didn't hear him, let me help you real quick. So apparently, Charlie Kirk I want to be nice. I don't want to say anything mean. Has sparked people to start going to HBCUs with their conservative views and encouraging, or at least trying to engage the HBC youth in political debate. Thoughts on this too? Good idea, bad idea?
I think it's
Bunch
a
of
nuanced.
coons.
I think it's a nuanced conversation. Though.
Everything is too.
I don't agree with Homie.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't agree with Charlie Kirk because they weren't debating.
I would agree.
That's not a debate, right? But I do think us as a people need to classify a different understanding of how we engage in politics.
Interesting. Tell me more about that.
Like, I think that blackness by itself, blackness as an iteration, is a political declaration.
Okay.
So if you were born black, you cannot be a Democrat or Republican because blackness is the political declaration.
So the political party is black.
It's not even a political party, but it's a political declaration. And you leverage any political party to leverage the declaration.
Okay.
We're not a race of people. We're only black because it's anti-white. That's all it is.
Okay.
There's no such thing as black.
Okay.
Right? But that's what blackness was born out of, anti-white, which is also political. Whiteness is political, right? So whatever fits or whatever our needs are in this moment, then that's who we are in alignment with. And we should sell that to the highest bidder. So I'm not with dude, right? Because he's choosing a side too. I'm a conservative. He's chosen a side. I'm a liberal. You chose a side. When you're born black, you've already been born onto your side.
You can't choose a different
side. No, you
guy.
can't choose another side.
Right.
And that's where in my mind,
okay,
where our confusion comes from. I think he's a coon. Surely.
We shared that.
You know what I mean?
We will not argue that point.
Surely he's a coon, but I think in the nuance of the conversation, we need to reconsider how we engage in politics.
Okay. So shockingly, first of all, I don't even know if I understood everything you said, number one. Number two,
I'm gonna give you some books.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Number two, I actually don't hate this idea. Not because my interest is for the youth to become more conservative, but I do think college is the space for your ideas to be challenged and to be formulated and to be strengthened, right? And if these kids, and they're kids, they're gonna go through different amalgamations of their thoughts, and life experience is going to shape that, and what they read is going to shape that too. I don't hate people going in trying to challenge that. Now, what I do dislike, and I don't agree with Dude at all. One thing I want to make sure if he ever hears this clip, I want you to be very clear, sir, that you are not a free thinker. A free thinker reads across many different types. He's not a free thinker.
How you know you don't read?
He's not a free thinker.
I'm just saying.
I bet you.
How many black people you know can quote Voltaire?
I bet you if I asked him right now where he formulated his opinions from, he'd say some dumb shit like watching deadbeat dads or welfare moms leech off the system. And if that's where you formulated your opinion, you are not a well-read person. Thus, you are not a free thinker.
He just need to change his outfit. Like, why he gotta look like he going to WWE? Like, come on, dog.
Because he really about that conservative life.
Why? That's another question I got. Like, when you choose to ride with the white side, why you can't still wear black outfits?
He had on a black shirt.
No. That was a white WWE shirt.
He had on a baseball cap.
No.
It was a NASCAR.
To the club. We have specific sunglasses for our community. We have specific hats. You cannot wear NASCAR hats and rock and roll small town gas station glasses. That's different.
Pull him back up. Don't start it. Just pull back the image because I just want to see it.
Stone Cold Steve Austin ass.
I just want to see it again. I don't think he's not dressed black. I just think
we got to change the black man in your network. If you think he's dressed like a black man, stop it.
We don't have to turn on the sound. I just want to see the image. But he doesn't look not black to me. The
man looked like he going to WWE. Black people don't do that shit.
Black people do go to a WWE.
White black people.
With trucker hats. I mean, he does have on.
He bought that whole outfit in the biggest gas station in Iowa.
Not an untrue statement. He does look like he's trying to mimic Stone Cold Steve Austin for sure.
Goof ass out of here, man.
But point is, Two doesn't hate this idea. I also don't hate ideas. I think we don't hate it for different reasons. But point of the matter is,
I say it's nuanced, and I just wanted to get my point out.
Yeah.
But to add clarity, I do hate that idea because they're not debating. Right?
No, I think that's true. I think they're really going there to dominate those kids, and it's an easy mark, right? These kids are 18, 19, 20. they're still trying to formulate whatever opinions about the world they have. And are you really debating people who are still trying to figure out?
But see, I'd
what their thoughts
argue
are?
even a different perspective. They ain't going there to debate them kids. They ain't going to do nothing but create propaganda.
True.
They're propagandizing the moment, right?
True.
There's a moment in time that we're in right now, and that's all they're doing. What they want to do is start turmoil. That's
And
all they
see
want
a
to
void
do.
left by Charlie Kirk, and they're trying to fill it too. I
But
think.
even the Charlie Kirk move, it's turmoil, it's a void, and it's like, look at these niggas. That's what they want to be able to say.
I totally agree with
Right,
you.
and that's goofball stuff.
Totally agree. Well, shocker. We sort of
I'm the
disagree.
smartest person you know.
I don't know why you keep telling this lie, but
Okay.
you're the most nuanced person I know. Every time I ask you a question, it's a nuanced question.
Hey,
It's a nuanced answer.
hey, you got to see
Nigga,
the
just
gray
give
in
me
it,
a
man.
goddamn
It ain't all
answer.
black and white. It's gray in there too.
Anyway, all right. Now that we have debated that to oblivion
That
and that poor man's outfit, I don't know how we got on that damn poor man's outfit. Like, he looked fine to me. Let's go on to
That
the
would
next.
be your type. That's
I did
absolutely
not
your
say
type.
he was my type. Now
That's
you're
your
just
type.
making shit up.
I don't know. Yeah, so you said he was cute. Did you say it was a nice outfit?
Anybody who says they are free thinker is not my type. Period. Hard stop. Because you're not a free thinker. Anyway, we are moving on. Next segment. My type. I'll beat your ass. Oh, that one.
And hold yourself. You know, there's no, this kind of you'll find your way. I would say,
Sorry, it's the one with FD signifier. My bad. That was my mess up. Sorry, y'all. The other YouTube video.
This is how we get rid of Ron.
You know he can hear you, right?
Good.
Oh my God.
I'm just playing.
Just
heard that. So this one.
That one. Yep.
This point, talking about everything from fatherhood to sexual gratification to show that the world stays lying about black men. Yet, as soon as one of those same lies props back up, folks are quick to believe it. And here we are talking about black men not going to college when, if you know anything about this issue, this is true for all men right now, all men. And that's indicative of a much bigger issue and more complex problem. But the easiest to believe and the most familiar answer to this type of question is,
well, something must be uniquely wrong with black men in particular. There must be something specific about black men and black men only to explain this problem.
Nobody is saying that about white men. No one is saying,
I wonder what it is about white men that's caused them not to go to college.
Maybe it's the hip hop or jelly roll or whatever. That never happens. Like another big trending topic that's been all over the internet for years now is the loneliness epidemic and the suicide rate for men, specifically white men. And understand the suicide rate for all men has went up in the last 20 years, but nobody's saying that this is specifically a thing that white men are experiencing, even though the rate for white men's suicide is the main one driving that increase for all men. Do we never talk about white people the same way we talk about black people? Yes, this is going to come up later in the Nebula read. But as soon as some think piece drops that tries to uniquely isolate black men as some specific example of a problem, some of you nod and say,
yeah, niggas do be dropping out of school.
Which is not true, by the way. Like in the last couple of years, the graduation rate for high school boys has actually risen. Did y'all know that? Of course you didn't. Y'all never know that shit. Well, I ain't gonna front. I didn't know that either, but I expected the shit because I know better. It's a well understood thing that anything bad or negative happening in the greater population of Americans is going to be worse with black people, black men and women, and gay people, trans, etc. If you're black, that is a net.
All right. So shout out to FD Signifier. He actually is from not Robbins, Harvey, one of them south suburbs.
Really?
Yeah. Hometown boy.
Salute to the homie.
So
that's not the hometown though.
I mean, it's Cook County.
Do you say I'm from Cook County? Have you ever out your mouth said I'm from Cook County?
Boy, you no, because I'm from Chicago.
Niggas be reaching, boy. I swear to God. This is indicative of how we argue, right? I just gotta be fucking right. So now he's from Cook County.
You get that shit out of here. Cook County is Chicago for me.
Ever.
One of the bounds of Chicago. Before we actually get into the real topic, we have clearly veered off to what we actually need to be talking about. Then what's Chicago? Chicago. If you
it's Chicago.
Yeah.
It's Chi-Town. It's Windy City. It's Chicago.
If you ask me past 127th, I ain't fucking with you.
Allsup's not Chicago. Oak Park's not Chicago. What's another suburb? Burbank is not Chicago.
No.
They, even though they'll
Not
say
Burbank's
that,
too far. You can't
all
claim that.
Evanston's not Chicago, and that's at the border.
That's what I'm saying. All the surroundings are
They're
not.
not Chicago.
Wow. That's another, okay, so that's another topic for another day. So first, we're going to introduce, I guess, who clearly is ready to hop in with all of his opinions. Darius, hey, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. I take my city seriously.
I see. And welcome to the In the Zone podcast.
For sure.
We love a
Fosh,
good.
you suck.
We love a good ITZ version. So make sure you all welcome him onto the show for his first time. I have brought Darius on, one, because he's a teacher, and two, because I want to dive into this. You know, the New York Times, I believe it was the New York Times or the Post, wrote an article saying that the numbers of Black boys going to college has significantly dropped. And I believe they were looking at Hampton or Howard, I can't remember which HBCU, where they saw those numbers lowered. So we're here to talk about the why. And I guess I'm going to start, number one, while two is playing his game, asking you, Darius, is this even true? You deal with high school kids, you deal with high school boys who are going to be going to college. Do you agree that, one, these boys have less interest in going to college, and two, maybe they're finding different avenues instead of going to college? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to say it's a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the numbers that he's talking about they're not as high. Yeah, they probably move, but they're just not still as high as we need them to be, or what they think they are.
Mm-hmm.
We also got to understand that data in school systems is always skewed. Okay, they play the data cards because that's how they get their money from the state. Okay, so when we talk about graduation rates and stuff like that, that's never what it is. A lot of these kids are graduating, and so let's still say, and it is, community college is college.
It is.
Okay, but a lot of schools say, hey, our kids have been 100% acceptance, to college. Everybody thinks that's universities, and it's not. It's community college and a small aspect of universities.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at this, the numbers aren't right. The data's not right, and I won't say. I mean, from a macrocosm, we don't have enough boys going to college.
Mm-hmm.
We can go to college fairs, which I see often, and see that a lot of boys go to college fairs because the girls are there.
And that why boys go to college?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm just posing a question.
Because most of the boys don't make it to college.
Mm.
And then let's talk about those boys that get down to college and then end up having to come back in January.
Don't shade them. I was I'm not a boy, but I was definitely.
Well,
that happened to me.
Right.
I can definitely acknowledge that.
And it's not because they ran out of money. It's because they brought high school to college with them.
Yeah.
So I always tell my students, you can't college in college. It has to start now. Technically to me, I always say it has to start the day before yesterday. So with this, they play with high school. They're not prepared. And there's a big thing called fear. And then there's a thing called wanting quick money.
Yeah.
Our society has created this whole thing, and the social media is probably the major piece, is that we look at all these people that are like quick money. We look at people that are putting thousands or hundreds on the table and stuff like that, and they think that can be them. A lot of them think they can be, YouTube sensations. And that's like being a basketball player. That only happens like every blue moon, So they think that they can go the easy route around.
Yeah.
And so don't get me wrong, there's the percentage of students young men that do go to college, but it's not on a wide scale. We got still in yet, because when we talk about Black women being the highly educated, and things like that, that's still the number.
Yeah.
You got more Black women going to college and more young Black ladies going to college than you do young Black males. Another thing is, and like I asked my students the same question when you posed it to me. Many of them said, because it's not cool.
I want to dive into that. Put a pin right there. Two, I want you to hop in here. Now, I know you're not a teacher, but I know you do spend time with the youth. You do go and talk to students. Do you share the same views as Darius, right? As far as whether the boys are or not going to college, and maybe the whys of why they're not going to college?
Yeah, to the point of the video, I think it's down across the board.
Yes.
Right. But the society's shifting too. And we don't give credence to that.
Tell me. Yeah.
Right. We're moving into an agrarian society. So the role of the man in general is being challenged. Right. So what does that look like? And when you talk about the quick money, I think that's a roadmap to manhood in most of these young boys' mind. And even when we pull the data of, even you saying black women are the most educated, what are the results of that? Because they also the second most impoverished, right? So we could sell a dream. You know, I had this epiphany one time, man. I'm talking to some young boys and they talking to me and I'm like, damn, I don't really have an argument to dispute what you're saying.
What were they saying?
It's bullshit. It's all a lie.
Hmm.
There is no vantage point to this other than going and get some debt. And I'm in the same position I'm in. If we do the math, we do the data, right? In the private sector, we're still under 2% of employment in the private sector. That's where the money's at. We got a less than 2% representation there. So what the fuck am I going to college for? You know what I mean? I can go get this same CTA job right out of high school. Because that's what I'm gonna do when I get out of college. That's what most people do when they get out of, you know what I mean? So we tell a lot of, in my mind, the hype of and the stature of, we move like that. We get to dress a certain way and we look a certain way, but you ain't made the motherfucker who do the CTA make more money than you. Or the motherfucker who fix radiators make more money than you.
That's actually very true.
Make more money than you. So miss me with the lie. And I understand. I do.
But the other piece to piggyback off that is they're walking into doing nothing also. That's another thing. And that's where we fall short. And I mean, we can talk about a solution because I surely know what it is. But the piece is that they don't still know what they want to do because it hasn't been exposed to them.
Yeah.
He brought up something where, I mean, one, there's lack of men.
What do you mean by that?
There's not enough men in their families to show them to be men.
Mm-hmm.
So before I was even walking into this building, I literally saw a mom yelling and cursing out her son who's at a D in his grade. I wanted to say something, but it took everything in me not to say anything because I was like, she's just too. I know where I'm at, and I don't know, I'm gonna be out there fighting mom, because she's like, this ain't none of your business, But literally, it is everybody's business because once she made it loud, and then the other thing is, because we know where this kid is, let's understand that might be. I always say either you learn it from the neck up or you learn it from the neck down. So,
wait, pause.
Mm-hmm.
I
fuck with that statement.
I definitely don't know what that means. What do you mean?
Either you're using your mind and use your mind for something, but you're also a hands-on person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hands-on is carpentry, trades, things like that. So, all the trades are hands-on work. Okay, but then you got blue collar and white collar. White collar works from the mind, for the most part. So we also have to understand who our kids are. Okay, and we force them into this thing that we don't understand that, electrician is a college. Automotive is a college. Culinary is a college. So we haven't figured out, hey, let's find out what this kid really wants to do, or let's show them the options, because we haven't done that with our boys.
So do you think, I'm just thinking about what you just said there, right? Do you think that one of the things we need to tackle outside of figuring out how to get maybe more young Black boys to go to college is that maybe the adults in these kids' lives, whether male or female, need to rethink their idea of what higher education is?
That, but also we have to remember, and I, once again, another conversation with one of my students today, because, prior to me being a teacher, I was a college admissions rep for 17 years. So, and guiding these kids in the right direction. So in doing this, it's like, we have to literally, we have to hold their hands. We also got to remember that their brains don't develop until 27 fully. We also got to remember that if they got ADD or ADHD, that means 29. We also got to remember if they're hormonal, that means 31.
Jesus Christ.
Right. So with that, we have to look at all those factors in place, right? Because they might not mature till then, and their brains might not develop until then. Because we're talking about the disabilities that are in the way. Also, we got a lot of kids that are coming through this system with the gang of disabilities, and the colleges aren't ready for them. So it's almost like, I get to that point because there's a book and I'm writing about it right now. So,
well then, okay.
Yeah. So with that, it's where we have to look. We got to understand where the kid wants to go, but we really have to talk to the kid. We're not exposing them to enough neither. Our kids aren't exposed to anything, especially we're looking at urban deserts, okay? Not just food deserts, but urban deserts. So they're not seeing anything. They're not seeing what their options are.
So when you say urban deserts, you mean like, I don't want to just say like the lawyers and the doctors, right? Because there are like thousands and thousands and thousands of type of careers. They're not seeing investment bankers. They're not seeing hedge fund managers. They're not seeing
real estate
concrete
agents.
layers.
They're not seeing grocery store owners.
Right.
They're not seeing owners.
They're not seeing the guy. They see the guy that's sitting at that corner who's looking ththrough a little thing down the way, but not realizing that's the surveyor. But they don't know what that is.
Right.
We don't see landscapers.
Right.
Like we shooting way too high. Right, the Mexicans that come through and cut everybody grass, they all making $100,000, and they just cutting grass.
Is black, but I get your point.
But the point is, it's non-existence, and I agree with you. Yeah. But I think we had these arguments from the wrong perspective, in my opinion. Okay. The problem ain't the kid.
No,
the problem is us.
Right.
And that's what I'm asking, right?
And so when saying us, it's also us as the parent. Mm-hmm. So I always say, if you come from a lack of education, you're gonna put your kid in the same lack of education. Mm-hmm. So. But believe it or not, I always say if we really thought about it, we could afford college for our kids, but we don't see our kids as an investment.
And I'm gonna go one step further, right? And it's indicative of the political environment that we're in too, right? We've not created an infrastructure, right? We don't have any ownership of anything. So when I say we've only have 2% representation in the private sector, right? All of our jobs come through government. We're in a moment in time where government is saying for the first time since probably the last 100 years, hey, we don't give a fuck no more. What does that leave the rest of our community? It's going to put us in dire straits. Your grandmama got that house because of CTA. Your grandmama got that house because the post office. And everybody since then has lived in your grandmama house. Yeah. Nobody built shit. So when those boys, the police station, the fire department, those are anchorings for fallen young white boys. If you fall the fuck off, you still gonna make $100,000. We don't have anything like that. Yeah, we don't have anything because we've not built anything like that. And maybe because we've had this philosophy of go get that college, go get this job. Fuck that. I grew up in a neighborhood where we did have a landscaper that lived in our neighborhood. And because he lived there, every summer the little boys in the neighborhood could go work for him. And you start having to understand that, man, this motherfucker getting money. You're exposed in a different way. But we've not even those minimal kind of outlets for business we don't have. You don't even see young boys walking around shoveling the stove when they get cold no more. None of that shit exists. And partially why it don't exist, because we won't open the door for their ass. Because we don't even love them.
Because we're scared of them.
Because we're scared of them. So all this shit is reactionary in my mind. Yeah. Right. And we have to have ownership in the problem. We created this shit. For our buy-in to this white supremacist philosophy of society.
Now y'all see why I brought two in here.
And we let the phones raise them. So
that's a newer phenomenon, but I don't disagree.
Right. And so when can we talk about solution?
Well, I think we can talk about solution, but I also think it's interesting you guys are really more focused on the adults around these kids, right? So I guess before we talk about the solution for kids, what is the solution for the adults in their lives, right? Like, how do we
stop living in the perpetual state of immaturity? I think we move through life like high school.
A lot of this.
But it's
most people
the only,
are not self-aware enough to realize
but it's the reality, right?
Yeah.
It just is.
I mean, yeah, because it's like, it goes back to, you want to have something from a nigga put in a book. Mm-hmm. The parents aren't opening books. The parents aren't checking on the kids. Also, it's most likely on average it's a single family household.
Right.
And mom got to work. So son or daughter is raising themselves. They're cooking food, they're doing all that, or they're playing sports and, things like that. So the parents got to want to be educated, but if the parent, I deal with a community of people that used to be in that city to move to the south suburbs. Mm-hmm. And, it's a lot of parents from Inglewood. It's a lot of parents from, different housing areas and housing projects. And they're the generations of that. And so they didn't want to learn. They went on everybody out there goes to work in Amazon or Walmart.
In the south suburbs, really? Okay.
Yeah, like the younger people and their parents. Mm-hmm. when we were, and I'm now about to put myself in the age bracket, you know.
We all old on this show. It's
so
fine.
so when we were younger, we didn't have to. A lot of us didn't have to go work. Our parents still worked. Our parents still raised us and invested in us, or our grandparents raised us. But now you got to fight the McDonald's job for the parent.
Yeah.
You know, you got to fight the Culver's and the Chick-fil-A jobs with the parents. And so kids aren't also getting the employment that they need to get neither. And the fact that they think that they got to go work in high school is also the problem.
I completely agree with you on that aspect.
So, I mean, it's Bernie Mac said it best, rest in peace, right? He said, my generation dropped the ball and never came back to invest in the community. We took that money and went and moved in other white communities and wanted to be accepted. Okay, but we never came back and raised our community and brought the business back.
I've said that on this show, I don't know how many times.
You know,
I'm glad somebody else is bringing that back forward.
I would touch another subject, but I'm not.
Touch it.
Now, wait, we're going to get too far off of the scope of the conversation. Yeah. So we've talked about a little bit about the parents, right? And I don't know if we come up with like a succinct solution, but let's talk about the kids, right? Too. And I don't know if the goal really should be to get the kids into a university, right? To your point earlier, Darius, there's lots of higher education. I do think there needs to be a recalibration of how we see post-high school education, that it doesn't just live in going to Yale or Harvard, going to IIT, I don't even know if that's still a thing, or doing community-based programs where you learn cybersecurity or you learn whatever, right? Taking an apprenticeship.
Or coding.
Or whatever that is, we need to start looking at it differently. But for the kids too, what do you think the solution is for them to consider post-high school education for themselves and maybe not be a YouTuber?
So I'd be lying to you if I gave you any solution. Right, I'd be lying to you. I think we're moving into a different level of society. We're in the fourth American Revolution right now, and we don't even recognize it. Right. So, in that vein, with all of the shit that I read a book when my kids was first born, and it said by the time they got to college, if they picked a major their freshman year, by the time they graduated, that career path wouldn't exist anymore. Right? Technology moves at a speed of 4. It multiplies itself by 4s. So with the rate of technology today, it's probably moving at a multiple like 16 or something like that. Right? So the shit that existed last year ain't gonna exist next year. You know what I mean? So what we're in is not a job crisis. We're in a political crisis. And what you see today is the failing of all of our society, not just black people. We've always been at the bottom and shit rolls downhill. But it's a failing of the entirety of the society. Donald Trump has made something like $1 billion a fucking month. He's fucking trading from the White House. He's creating tariffs to trade to get money. Right? We're seeing the shift. He's stacking his pockets, and so are all the other wealthy elite. Right? The economy is gone. We just ain't recognized it yet. This shit's done. Right? So what do you have to birth out of that to survive? You might need a motherfucker to learn how to grow fruit. We got to change our philosophy and fast. This shit is happening rapidly. You might need a motherfucker that knows how to use a gun for real and not just have one. These are this shit is getting very real. Right? And we still talking about what school you want. Man, who give a fuck if you can't eat? Right? And those are real conversations in my opinion, but nobody's having them. Right. And what's happening, and the way it happens is they control the media. Right. You see every goddamn digital president, the Bezos and all them people at the inauguration because they're in on it. Right. And then they dumb down the media, and the media is the fourth arm of government. Right. Like you said, you ain't reading no fucking book. So all your information is coming from these spaces. Right. And
it's true and false information.
Right.
Yeah. They don't know what's real.
They don't know what's real.
It's hard to know what's
right. There's been this push in the last 2 weeks where you see all these AI renditions of Martin Luther King doing WWE rapping. In 10 years, that'll be who Martin Luther King was.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that'll be exactly who Martin Luther King was.
Oh, y'all saying that will happen? I'm like,
no, it's happening.
I did not see that.
They saw Martin Luther King spinning at a party.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
That is horrifying.
Cyrus just died last week.
Yes.
And there was little girls on the internet like, man, that shit didn't mean nothing to me. She did that shit for herself. No, you don't have any goddamn context. Right? And it's other people in the comments like, we think these are one-offs. There's people in the comments like, was that Tupac mama? Like, that shows how far off we are. It's people who don't know who Martin Luther King is for real.
No, I do know that.
Right? So context is everything, man. But we're so, it's a quote that says, there's no semblance of sanity to fully assimilate into an insane society. And we fully assimilated into some fucking insanity. And we keep trying to justify the insanity. No, it's time to let go of the titty. It's time. It's poisonous. It's been time.
Another thing is we haven't brought education up to date.
What do you mean?
It's still in the, I mean, like, these kids don't care about George Washington and any of the old presidents. They don't even know who they are. They know Obama and up. You know, they don't know Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter.
They don't need to know.
Right, but they don't know none of them. You know, they don't know. I mean, it's like, and then we're still giving them the Constitution. That hasn't worked out for us ever.
And that may be going away.
I'm
at
sure.
The rate that things are happening.
You know, the Declaration of Independence, you know, it's none of that stuff was for us anyway, you know. So I always say, I mean, like, real talk, my only solution is like what we removed from what we grew up in and seeing. They got college fairs now, which is, to me, is not the best thing ever, because the kids, I always say, are you choosing the right college? Are you choosing the right major? And is there employment when you graduate? How much research have you done? They don't research. You know, I mean, right now, the only thing that's really winning is nursing, you know, more than anything. Everything else, I mean, because we always have sick people. Nurses are always going to be, I mean, nurses make money. They do well, you know, like you said, CTA and stuff like that. Many of my boys are always like, man, we did this wrong, because we got friends that are retiring at 51, 52. My school system said I can't retire until I'm 67 from the state of Illinois. I'm like, so I'm about 3 years from dead, probably. I don't know. You know, but I mean, then they're going to keep moving that pole. You know, you won't retire till you dead. You know, so you won't see a happier life. So with that, I'm always saying, what if most people had a career day? Like, whatever it is that you do, how many of y'all have actually gone back to your high schools and said, this is what I do for a living, or this is the direction you should go? You know, no one's really done that. And that's actually a small solution. But if you see an example of what that person does and they talk about it, then you might actually trigger somebody. The only reason why I say that is because, one, I don't want to be a doctor, right? Because somebody came to my school. I went to volunteer at the University of Chicago Hospital. Got thrown up. The kid threw up on me. I threw up on the kid.
Jesus Christ.
Realize that when I see people throw up, it don't work for me.
Not a vibe.
Right? What was the other thing I was trying to do? I realized, you know, after doing so much cooking, it made me want to become a chef. Mm-hmm. But then it took a white person to say, hey, you should consider culinary school. And my ex-girlfriend at the time, who was like, you should consider, and I didn't even know what the word culinary meant, you know, in the 90s. So I was like, you know, and my dad, when I told him, he was like, oh, you want to be a short order cook? You know, and I was like, what's that? You know, and that's what he grew up around, mm-hmm. You know, but literally I didn't know what that word meant until I had to go research it and everything. But it's like, if we actually just go back to our schools that we went to high school to and actually give up our time and really give up our time and tell these kids what we do for a living, you know, they might want to consider it. You know, I got kids that want to be real estate agents, but they don't know why. They don't know how. You know, I got so many kids that don't know what they want to do because it hasn't been put in front of them.
That's actually I didn't even consider that. That's actually a really good point. And a very easy thing that the adults around these kids can do, right? Just go to these schools and talk about what they do.
I mean, just go to your alma mater. You know, I mean, we got enough people that if they went back to the alma mater, CVS, Dunbar, you know, Bowen, wherever, Whitney Young. I mean, Whitney Young they clamped, all right? Forget Foss, right?
We have nothing but goddamn Whitney Young motherfuckers on this goddamn show. It's very annoying.
But with that, if they went back to some of their struggling schools and let them know what they I mean, I don't care if it's a bus driver, a hairstylist. If they went back and actually, you know, did that, it would be like, damn, okay. Because I mean, like when we look at schools like Simeon and Simeon and CBCA, they produce more hairstylists than anybody. Like when you graduate from Simeon, you're a certified hairstylist as a senior. You know, you ain't even got to go to like hair school for it. There are women that go there just to get their hair done. You know,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, on Saturdays, right? So, I mean, and once again, working from the neck down, you know. So it's like a lot of our kids are really hands-on because I mean, a lot of our kids aren't really academically strong either. Not
to say they're not smart. That's just not academia
and
is
sometimes
not there.
those systems don't work for us. Next week is the ACT, the pre-ACT for the state. And man, when I looked at scores just recently, all of my juniors had I think the highest was a 19 and everything else was a 15 and lower. And that's because they played with it their sophomore year in pre-ACT. And they were just like, you know, they look like that. And I was like, dude, I'm like, you just played with it. You don't even know you don't even know what the bar is now. So now you're going to come in and take it. And, you know, you don't even know what to study on, the subjects that you might be weaker at. And once again, the ACT is still a joke because we don't teach, we test.
Right.
That's another thing. We don't teach, we test.
So what do you want to say?
How do we separate them from the allure of capitalism?
First of all, that is a completely different topic.
But it's not though. It's the exact same topic, right? And I think even how we having a conversation right now, right? Where do we get outside? How do we get outside of valuing the destination over the journey, right? Because that's where you find love and that's where you find learning. The reason why they're going for the quick cash because that's their answer. They see that as the solve. It's not the solve.
And we're not very helpful to that because
we love it too.
On getting money as well. So that's where their heads are. So I'm going to put a pin in that because we do need to move on. We got 2 other lovely guests to talk about more Black men topics. Not really education, but loneliness. Thank you, Darius. You're welcome to stay if you want. But he said he don't know shit about being lonely, so he out.
I'm gonna stick around, but I don't.
Okay,
this
cool.
Is a funny topic for me.
Please stick around.
Very
all right, Ron. Let's move on to the next video.
You want to make sure you have a plan. You want to be on getting certification or education or professional experience because time goes fast. And again, and this isn't aspirational, it's just super competitive out there. And especially there's what I would call a bit of a crisis with young men. And that is 7 in 10 high school valedictorians are girls. There are now in universities in the U.S., it's 60% female, 40% male, which sounds bad, but it gets worse when you think about it. You show up freshman year at university, there's 50% more women, more prone to incarceration, more prone to opioid addiction, more prone to gambling problems. So I would argue relative to almost every other cohort in terms of the progress they've made the last 20 or 30 years, young males have actually made the least progress. And I think a lot about and coach a lot of young men because I think a lot of them are struggling.
I agree. I've seen the same thing. What do you think is one of the root causes?
It's a variety of things. My colleague at NYU, Jonathan Haidt, wrote a book called The Coddling of the American Mind. And he said it kind of comes down, he described specifically this epidemic in depression among young people. And he thinks it's driven by 2 things. And the first is our fault as parents. I don't know, do you have kids, Brian?
I do have kids, yeah.
And he said that our generation engages in concierge or bulldozer parenting, where we use so many sanitary napkins on their life, they don't develop their own immunities. They show up to college with sort of this princess and the pea syndrome, and they get their heart broken or get their first C, and they just literally freak out. And the second is social media, that especially among young girls, boys bully physically and verbally, girls bully relationally, and we've put these nuclear weapons in their hands with this. I also think that more for young men, they're not, I think they've been told a little bit that they're especially white men, that they're the oppressors. And I think the opportunities that maybe you had and I had aren't as plentiful. It's much more difficult to get into a good school, and it's much more expensive. So you're faced with, do I really want to saddle my family with this debt to go to kind of a tier 2 college? So I think it's difficult. And also
all right. Shout out to Scott Galloway. We both love Scott Galloway, right, too?
I didn't say I love him. I don't know white man gets love for me.
Right.
Oh, my God. This is why I have 2 here. But we also have 2 more gentlemen to help us have this conversation. First, I'm going to bring in Rob. Hey, Rob, how you doing? Uh-oh, you're muted.
He has to unmute himself.
You got to unmute yourself. Okay, we'll come back to you because we know you're here. You're gonna hang out with us, and we also have Khalid. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone.
All right. I know I saw Rob really wanted to join in that spirited conversation as he was texting me feverishly about wanting to talk about why these boys ain't going to college. But unfortunately, now we got to talk about why these boys are lonely. And Khalid, I'm really interested in your perspective, right? Because you are a clinician. You do talk to, I'm going to presume, right? I'm going to make some assumptions here that you do talk to Black men.
Yes.
And I imagine there are a number of them who come to you and you find that on some level they are either depressed or have some level of loneliness. So are you seeing an uptick in that? Is that pretty, I don't want to say rampant. Rampant doesn't feel like the right word, but are you seeing a lot of that in your experience as a clinician?
Yes. Great topic, and thank you for having me to come on. During the day, I work at Jesse Brown VA Hospital, and I have majority Black male veterans who are on my caseload. And then in my private practice, I'm proud to say I have 19 African-American men in therapy, right? And the thing is, men want these services because we're realizing, really, especially post-pandemic, that we had a lot of issues to dwell into, right? And then being in the pandemic made all of us have to sit down and reflect, right? And think about what's well in our life and what's not going well in our life. And voila, most of us clinicians are booked solid because we find that we have a lot of issues. And then talking about the topic today about males and loneliness, it's on the uptick. So let me tell you this personally, I know 39 couples. Listen to that number. 39 couples over the last 3 years who have divorced or are divorcing, right? So, and they are in their 50s and 60s, right? So no more is the let me stay with the spouse and just go into the wonder years. Folks are like, no, we raised our kids, we're empty nesters, we can't stand each other, so now I want a divorce, right? And voila, they thinking they got the single friends who make being single look so good, so appealing. But now they get back out here in the world as a divorced person. They're like, wow, man, what have I really done? Was being in a marriage that bad, right? And let me read this to you because I did a post on this not too long ago. I want to read this statistic to you. In 2021 report from the Survey Center on American Life found that the number of men reporting having no close friends had increased fivefold since 1990, jumping from 3% to 15%. Similarly, only 27% of men reported having 6 or more close friends in 2021, which is down from 55% 1990. So men are going into these silos, right? I do workshops at senior citizen homes, right? And I talk to the coordinators and the directors. Well, unbeknownst to most people, guess who gets the most visitors? Grandma, auntie, mom. They get visitors on a daily basis. Guess who doesn't get visitors on a regular basis other than birthday or Father's Day? Dad, grandpa, uncle. So us men, and we've kind of done it to ourselves, right? Because I've known men to say, well, you know what? I'm not in the mode to make friends now. I'm older. My friends are the guys I went to grammar school or CVS with, or my fraternity brothers. So we're not as engaged, and we don't go out and say, you know what? Let me make a new friend each year. Because it feels unmasculine to become friends with somebody at 55 years old, which is preposterous. You know what I'm saying? Plus, remember too, Men love comfort zones. That's why we love the recliner chair, the remote, and our beer. You know, we like what's familiar. We do not like what's unfamiliar. Going to meet a new friend, joining a fraternity, joining a club, going to a cigar bar, for a lot of men, it's like, no, because that means I'm putting myself out there. And it's not doing us any good. The thing about, yeah, I'm sorry.
No. That was actually, first of all, as we all know, I have a vagina. So
We don't all know that.
I'm gonna fuck him up. I promise God. I'm gonna fuck him up. But back to what I was saying, you know, my brain obviously doesn't go here, right? Because I don't have the baggage, because that's really what it is, right? I don't have the masculine baggage of trying to be a certain way, because if I'm anything outside of that, then my masculinity is in question, right? Is what I'm really understanding from what you're saying. Right. So Rob, I would kind of want you to hop in here, because you are a person, anybody who follows you on IG or Facebook, you are all over the place. You are playing basketball, you are going to lunch, you are going to this thing, you're going to that thing, right? Like, how do we, I guess my first question is this really a consequence of the binary of being a man, right? And everything that comes to that. And maybe I'm understanding it incorrectly. So I guess that's really my first question to you. Is the loneliness and what Khalid is saying about men not wanting to make friends and men not do anything, is this really just a consequence of that binary?
Is that question for me?
Yes, I said Rob, sir.
I'm sorry. You see, I had to put some letters behind my name because I well.
You're an asshole. Why is everybody being an asshole today?
Just saw the letters. That's funny. That's funny as hell. I support that.
Wasn't nobody gonna listen to me after they saw all of that? Wasn't nobody gonna listen to me? So,
Eddie Alpha.
No, he's an alpha. Rob is a kappa.
06.
A whole bunch of weakness happened here, except me and Darius. But anyway, Rob, the binary of being a man, is that causing y'all to be lonely?
I think Toussaint said something that I thought was profound earlier. He said, whatever happens to everyone happens to Black folks worse, right? I think our male relationships got challenged dramatically during COVID times, where you add the fact that our responsibility to show up as men in terms of providing was threatened in a lot of cases, became a harder job in a lot of cases. And the Saturday hoops, or the Saturday golf, or the Saturday gym, or whatever it may be, was taken away from us, right? I was unique. I know I'm unique and was blessed that during COVID, me and my buddies found an outdoor basketball court, and we kept going, right? From 8 to 10, we would gather on an outdoor basketball court, and the city left us alone. And I look back at that now and see how valuable that was for pulling me through that experience, because I was very much a lonely person during that time. And then a lot of the men during that time, you know, when we get lonely, we go find women a lot of times. And we didn't have that outlet to go to the club. We didn't have that outlet to go peacock, to rebuild what we thought about ourselves on the weekend through that kind of experience, right? So I do think we created a world that type of machismo doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's all about partnership in this world. Again, referencing what Toussaint was saying, is like, to get along in this world as a single income household is very difficult. To get along in this world, and as you see that even those who vested into the capitalist structure and invested into doing all the right things, got left behind as well. So I do think it's a harder place for men to exist and to maintain relationship. But I would argue that men are much more focused on their well-being today, or becoming much more focused on their well-being today. And some of loneliness that they attribute to us really is just us prioritizing ourselves, right? Prioritizing the things that we're interested in, the things that we want to pursue, not necessarily making our lives about having a partner all the time. And so I do think there's some benefits to this kind of shift and change that's occurring. I think, of course, it needs to have balance for it to work out for everybody.
I think that's fair. I would push back a little because I don't think the loneliness that they talk about, and again, I have a vagina, so I could 1,000% be wrong, right? I don't think the loneliness they talk about with men is that you guys are saying, I'm done with dating. I'm just going to focus on healing myself, right? I think what they are saying is men are expressing that they are having a hard time maintaining relationships, not just romantic, but platonic as well. Khalid said earlier, like, men are like, I'm 50, I ain't making no new friends. I think there is a struggle there. And this is just somebody looking from the outside in. I think there's a struggle for men there where, and I think you said something similar to this, that they want to have people around, but there's something making them feel like that's something they can't do. Obviously not 100%, right? But I do think that there are some men who are stopped from seeking other people to connect with because of whatever's there for them, whether it's because it's not manly or they just don't know how. And because they can't connect with other people, you are consequently lonely, right? You feel alone, you feel isolated, you get trapped in your own thoughts. And I think that's what they're actually talking about with the loneliness epidemic. And I could be wrong. Darius, too, feel free to hop in here. I mean, I know y'all not lonely because we talked about this earlier. I'm surrounded by people.
I think one of the things is that you're focusing on I think focusing on the long end or the latter end of that range of people is probably two different problems, right? Is it Khaled or Khaled? Khaled talked about it. The 50-year-old lonely issue is different than the 30-year-old lonely issue.
That's fair.
Or the 25-year-old lonely issue. Those people are super lonely and making choices that they're literally not having sex. The white guy who's just on, who I'm a fan of, but I agree with Brother Toussaint. We ain't that much a fan of white folk like that. But
I love Scott Galloway.
Yeah, Scott Galloway. He talks about that regularly, about how that age group is not having sex. And if you think about it, we were in total pursuit of that in those times, and it wasn't just about the act of sex. It was about the social act. It was about the chase. It was about the communal thing that had to happen in order for you to get to sex. So it's a lot. It's really, I truly think COVID and that experience has messed up a whole lot of folks. But it also has made people say, let's revisit what really, really is good for us, right? And how do we not subscribe to all the capitalist things that we got taught that were supposed to make us feel good, when truth be told, bottle service sucks compared to playing Fortnite for about 2-3 hours for some folks.
I think that's fair, right? Again, I'm not a man, so you guys, I'm here to learn, right? So, and I don't disagree, right? Scott does more look at it from a youthful perspective. And one of the things he does say is that young people don't drink like we did, right? Which also adds to them not socializing. Yes.
But I also think he leveraged the internet as one of the main proprietors of why this is in existence, right? And I'm glad Rob mentioned capitalism again.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look at the internet, it operates like a catalog, and you look at how males choose a mate versus how females choose a mate, right? We scroll the catalog and we see what we like, right? We fall in love with what you look like, right? But that's not how it works for a woman, right? But if we're never in a space for you to engage in my personality, you're looking at my catalog too. So if my pictures don't look right, you ain't never responding to that DM I sent your ass.
I would agree.
You understand? So it cuts me off from having engagement in a natural kind of way.
Completely agree.
Right? So they ain't choosing to have sex. It's just back to capitalism, because the way my pictures look right is I got to have the right outfit on.
Right,
I got to be standing by the right car. I got to perform for you. And even in the context of how men aren't making relationships or connectivity, this is anecdotal because I don't live in that world. And we could leverage COVID, but I keep saying the world is past us, right? And how we have traditionally found value is not what value is going to be, right? So unless you lift the veil of who you really are, then you're going to be fucking lonely. And to be quite honest, a vast majority of us probably never found out who we are because we defined ourselves through the car we sit by. We defined ourselves through the address we had.
Or our jobs.
Or our jobs, right? Because, and be clear, that shit still plays, though, which is why the pictures don't work for the young girls. So on one hand, you're being judged by this very capitalistic transactional philosophy, and then you say, get rid of that capitalistic transactional philosophy. It's oxymoronic than a motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
It's oxymoronic than a motherfucker. And then you say, what's wrong with y'all? Now, what the fuck is wrong with everybody?
Yeah, and I'm being single again. I'm recently single, and so I'm not even the atmosphere of club and social life out there has changed dramatically for the sake of capitalism. There are no dance floors in clubs anymore. Like there are no places where people can get a corner and have a conversation and things of that nature. Like they are all built for Instagram-like experiences where you're sitting here looking at people put on a show and spend money that they don't even have, and nobody's even having a 20-minute conversation. You went to this club and you talked to the same 4 people that you came in the car with, and that wasn't how we socialized at one time.
Yeah, I think this is all. First of all, this is eye-opening for me. Because again, I'm cute. I'm a woman, so this is not
mostly because of your vagina, but you know.
It is because of my vagina. That's fact. Look, I am very clear about where my superpowers lie. So I guess
you got a superpower vagina.
Yes, I do.
Oh, bless your heart.
I'm like,
that's why I'm not lonely.
All right,
Hey. Scorpio.
I am an Aries.
Oh God.
There go the arrogance of it all.
Oh God.
But all right, Khalid, you've been hanging out in the background. I guess we've kind of semi-diagnosed what we think is going on here. Like, what's the solution, right? Is it that men need to go and read books and sit under a willow tree and learn who they are? Is it that, like Scott Galloway says, everybody need to go drink and socialize? Is it something else that nobody's thought of? You're a clinician. What do you think?
Well, the thing is, we have to be brave enough to be more outgoing. We have to go back, and a lot of us, and around I'm 56 years old, so a lot of us go through what we call, and the term just went out of my head. What's that when you get a brand new car? Midlife crisis, right? And a lot of us are reverting back to saying, hey, I want to be 27 years old mentally, right? So the benefit of going back to say, hey, I want to revisit my youth or the things I did back when I was a youth and when I was single was, again, the socialization, right? So I suggest to my clients all the time, hey, I know 60-year-olds who join fraternities, right? I know 50-year-olds who go and, get into, different clubs and organizations, a motor club, the cigar bars and things of that nature. So be brave enough to go back up there and reacquaint yourself, right? Prioritize old friendships, right? And revitalize them. So you had a friend who you were really close with, you haven't talked to in a long time, right? Go and make that phone call, do a check-in and see, hey, what's going on? Get on social media and send, the friends you used to have contact with, go ahead and send them friend requests. Volunteer, right? Go and do, become a mentor, join a boys club, join the field house and, help teach sports. Go and volunteer at the local elementary school. Next, seek therapy, right? If you have some issues that you haven't dealt with, and a lot of us African-American men, we come from broken places. that we never were brave enough to address. So seek therapy so you can go ahead and release that toxicity and dysfunction that you've been carrying for decades. And then again, be open to be vulnerable. In order for me, if I want to become good friends with Tucson, I've never met that man before. I just sent him and my other guy with the U of I sent you all friend request. I have this thing: make a new friend once a year, right? Build your village. The reason why Black people have been able to survive because we counted on the community, the village. We have gotten Eurocentric where we believe that let me isolate and be individualized. That doesn't work. Not for us. So we got to continue to build upon the village. And if you all notice, as you're getting older and you log on Facebook, what are you seeing a lot of? Death notices and obituaries, right? So we're dealing with the grief of losing people we're close to, but why not just recoup and say, let me bring new people into my life? Because people give us energy. People give us, imagine you, Sean, sitting in that space by yourself without the two guys next to you. It would be boring if we all were on the, screen.
First of all, I'm fucking entertaining. I don't know what you're talking about, but I totally understand what you said. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. So that's the best medicine for us, to be around and good, solid, positive people, that make you, again, iron sharpens iron. And this does not have to be the way we go out, but it's a choice you have to make.
First of all, I don't know what you did, but you got both Rob and Khalid like shouting you out and referencing back to you.
I wanted to say this too, man, because Khalid said it, man, about our acceptance of these Eurocentric value systems, right? And we look at things from a very linear perspective, where the African tradition is very circular, right? So even how we have this conversation, what must men do? Well, community ain't just men. And y'all don't want to own none of that responsibility. And even how we finna go into Russell Wilson conversation. And that's part of it too. I hate how we deal in these conversations.
I was trying to focus on men. Y'all, somehow women always end up in the conversation.
Stop right there. Just stop yourself.
Yeah.
There is no conversation about us without y'all, because that is what community is.
Okay, that's fair.
But because of how we approach the Eurocentric version, we have all these binary them and y'all. Ain't no them and y'all. It's just us.
Okay, look.
No, I'll give you some backup on that. Tucson, I'll give him some backup on that. We probably, for the Black community, has been enthralled in this 50-50 conversation for the last year and a half, right? And what Tucson is talking about is, like, if a young man sees that, what would they feel? They would feel that in order for me to have a person in my life, I must be able to accommodate all their expenses plus some, right? That is a scary notion for a kid who just got out of college, can't get a home like they used to, because my $475 a month rent when I got out of college compared to the $2,000 that they have to pay today. That means there's less dates that are happening. You're staying at home with parents longer, which means you don't have privacy to actually engage people in that way. And I'm not talking to just women. I'm talking to have friends over. The reason that me and my buddies became party promoters is because we used to have friends over every Tuesday night that had nothing to do with any romantic relationship, and it grew out of control, right? So it's just, we built a world mostly through capitalism that is not very productive for our well-being and our growth in terms of participating with each other. We have to work longer to have less.
I don't hate, let me just be clear about something. I don't hate having women as part of the conversation, right? And I think there does need
a the problem since Eve, if you think about it. I mean, since Eve, if you think about it.
Since Eve. And I do hate, I'm not even about to go into the 50-50 conversation. I have a whole theory about that, and that is not what this show is. But I do like the idea of leaving this conversation as this needs to be a more communal conversation. How can women support you guys in your evolution? Because I don't remember who said it. I can't remember. But I do agree, men have evolved past what I've always been meant to be growing up. And that is a good thing, right? What I understood masculinity to be at 18 and what I understand it to be now at 46 vastly has elevated. And the things I see now give me hope that you guys will keep growing and evolving. And I think it's important for you guys to continue to say women need to be a part of that evolution for you guys, of that masculine.
Sometimes that's the therapy.
We
Having
know.
the right partner.
We know.
You know, I mean, look, man. There are many times, you come home and just want to lay your head on that person's lap. Like women always say, I need a shoulder to lean on. Men need a lap to lay on.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be the therapy at that time as well.
Get some of that energy from that superpower vagina. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's gonna be the takeaway of this whole.
Rejuvenate me.
Superpower vagina. All right. Well, we've been very serious. I wanted to end with something a little less serious, so we all can kind of hop in and get our little sillies on, like me and Tu did at the beginning of the show. So let's move on to the next clip.
I guess a former player who's on a podcast doubled down on his point that Russell Wilson, who is married to the singer Sierra, is a lame because I guess because he's corny and things like that. And he says, because as a guy from Atlanta, I wouldn't want to hang out with him. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't know exactly where that's coming from. I know a lot of people have called him a simp because he stepped in where Sierra had a baby with a rapper named Future. And Russell stepped up to take care of this child. Really what I saw by Channing's doubling down on his point about Russell being a lame really comes from the promotion by racist people in Hollywood and the music industry of a pimp culture amongst black men. This pimp culture, it was in music. It started in the 1970s, went to the 1980s when Snoop started saying stuff like, "We don't love them hoes." And then it even dabbled into stuff like sex trafficking, where we will look up to a pimp more than we look up to a solid man. I don't know what you heard about me, but I'm a motherfucking right. So long story short,
I want to hear what Tucson got to say first.
You know I was going to him first. Let me be clear.
I know some very solid pimps. Just want you to know that.
So
very good people.
Obviously, the conversation is, or let me ask my question, right? Because I've been wanting to ask a good group of men this question for a long time. What are people's fucking issue with Russell Wilson, right? Not saying that each of you all have an issue with Russell Wilson, but I imagine you all have an idea why people are so bothered by him and keep trying to pit him against Future. So, two, obviously, I do not believe you're going to agree with Boyce Watkins. Maybe you will. I don't know. But what's men's issue with motherfucking Russell?
I don't have an issue with Russell.
We're speaking in generalities.
I get it, and I'm about to go to the generalities
Go
of it
for
all,
it.
right? Like, I don't pay attention to none of that celebrity bullshit because it's just uninteresting to me, right? But we live in this dumbed down society because we don't have any interest of our own, so that's where we are, watching other motherfuckers live, right? But we just got to be honest too. There are some simp ass people in the world. It just is, right? And I don't know enough about the situation to say one way or the other, but pointing out the obvious, what the fuck is the flaw in pointing out the obvious?
Thank you, brother. Because the dude's a lame, bro. Like, it ain't a bad thing.
And it ain't
Like,
even about him.
he's lame in the sense.
Comparison in the future. You just a fucking lame. If Future never existed, you'd be a fucking lame.
Well,
and we're not talking about lame in a bad, like, and like discard this dude. Like, every dude got a cool lame dude in there.
Yeah, I got a bunch of lame friends.
I got a bunch of lame dudes. He's just lame. It ain't like he's not smart. He's not intelligent. He's not worthy. He's not a part of the crew. But that dude always get his sneakers from like the wildest places in the world. He's just like that dude, right? And that's who Russell Wilson is. I don't think no man was ever championing Future over Russell at any. I ain't never heard.
Visit my timeline.
I ain't never heard a dude say "Yay, Future" over Russell.
What I have seen is men say, one, how I receive it when I'm reading this, right, is one, Russell can do better than Sierra because the best Sierra could do was Future. And they can't make sense of how she goes from Future to Russell.
But
that is what the discussion is that I've seen.
But I'm gonna go with two here. They don't know Sierra.
I'm not gonna argue.
And that's the part about this whole, like what you said, all this stuff that I hate, because it's like people act like they really know these people, and it's like they really do not know them. Okay, we say look, Russell's done some lame shit, okay, and he's proven to do lame shit. Like you said, everybody need that lame dude, right? But they don't know Sierra. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast. She got her nerd, the geek and the.
Are we trying to say Russell Wilson's ugly?
No.
But he's adorable.
What baby mama is Sierra?
What baby mama and what Future?
Yeah, which
I believe she's number 2. Or no, she's number 4. I couldn't remember. He got like 11,000 children.
You know how lame that is?
But that's normal athlete life.
That's pretty lame, but we'll never give her that title.
Real talk.
That's lame as hell.
Real talk. That's some lame shit too.
Sierra, cuz like lame at number 4, that's pretty lame. So I don't think unfortunately Russell's gonna get them because he be wearing them Hawaiian shirts. It is what it is, man. Come on, bro. Like that's lame.
But for baby mama, ain't that normal athlete life?
Well, Future's not an athlete.
Hey, if we want to go through the data, that's normal black woman life.
True.
Whoa! I am not baby mama number 4.
I ain't saying you are, but if we want to pull the data, the vast majority of y'all are fucking the same 2 guys. That's data driven. That's data driven.
You've said that before.
It's data driven. And then we ask these kind of questions like Russell and Sierra. The same 2 guys that you fucking on is more the rapper nigga than the Russell guy.
What?
The data says.
What data is this?
The data says 8 out of 10
baby mama.
8 out of 10 women.
Before that, 10 women have babies by the same 2 dudes.
No, not 10. And I'm probably misquoted because it's been a while since I read the stat. But it was like 8 out of 10 women have children between XYZ ages. Let's say, I don't know, 21 and 35 or some shit.
Right.
But only 2 out of those 10 men in that same age bracket have children.
Okay.
So the math of that, when you deduce it, it says y'all is fucking the same 2 dudes.
Okay.
And what does those 2 dudes represent? What do they look like? What do their behavior says? Who is the dudes you know with multiple baby mamas?
You want me to shout them out?
What do they look like? What is the archetype? What is the archetype of the man with a multiple baby mamas? What's the archetype? Because there is an archetype.
Yeah.
Cool ass Future. That's what
they are a Future type. That's fact.
Right. And that's what y'all choosing. So miss the fuck out of me.
I don't know about these women having this babies by the same 2 men, but I will agree. The men I know who have more than 2 baby mamas typically are Future adjacent. I would not disagree with that. Yes, hop in. Feel free. This is not school. You ain't got to raise your hand.
The thing is that, and I like hearing the feedback. I did a class on the Future and versus Russell Wilson syndrome. And so what happened was I had a room full of, and it was 50 males ranging from age 18 to 65. By the end of that class, this is what we determined. When you hear men talk about Russell Wilson, though we're talking out of machismo-ness, we're really talking about protection. Because either men have been a Russell or we know a Russell, right? And so when we see a Sierra who we know, wow, would she have really chosen a Russell over a Future if Future had some act right about him, right? But he didn't. He went on to have more kids by 4 more other women. So she got with a guy who lost his first wife, a white woman, to a teammate, right? So here it is.
Oh, he lame as fuck. Oh God, man, I didn't know that part. Oh, he's the lamest thing on the planet. No, I'm just Jesus. This shit just got way worse. This lame ass nigga here, man.
So we going to protect it because Russell is our brother, our best friend, our little cousin, or us, right? A lot of us men, the thing about men is it takes one time for us to get heartbroken. you'll never do it to us again.
Real
While
talk.
women experience heartbreak over and over because your toleration level is a little bit higher than men. But men, we learn from that first heartbreak, right? So what happens is, and then we see a man who took responsibility of another man's child, right? But what folks have to understand is when he married Sierra, he didn't have a child. So my God, I get to have this wonderful family because Russell grew up with a mom and a dad and siblings. So here it is. She fulfilled many needs from this man. So even though we may not understand the nuances of why his love appears to be so ingrained, think about like even with the guy Kanye West, what Kim Kardashian provided from him, think about it, was deep. He lost his mom, right? So with Kim Kardashian, he gained a wife, children, and a massive family, right? And when men have longings, when men have needs, we look to fulfill those needs quickly and deeply. So I think, again, just to reiterate, with a Russell Wilson type of person, us men really look as a protection factor when we talk about him, saying, man, don't be a goofy. Don't let her take advantage of you. Well, the thing is, he will, because she has provided the other needs that he needed. May not be what none of us four would need from a woman, but she gave him a family, right? For me, I wouldn't dare have my wife showcase like Sierra. But in his head, if I'm seen as the lame, I got the sexiest woman as my wife on my arm. You know what I'm saying? And so it's how perspective gets into place.
Isn't that kind of lame behavior though, Doc? Just in general, like by the standards of how we qualify lameness?
Because he got cheated on by his white wife.
No, you pull it from whole other parts of the story. I'm just trying to understand. He said, because I don't study or follow this couple. I don't know much about them at all, right?
We know you too cool for this bullshit.
You got that right. I got my own life.
We know too.
Yes,
we know.
I'm not that fucking lame. I got better shit to do. I'm interested and people are interested in me. What did you talk about?
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, one of the things I said is that how she shows up, even though I wouldn't allow my wife to show up in that kind of manner. I'm not saying aloud because I know how y'all have words. But for me, even a Ye reference point is a reference point to very lame behavior, very low self-esteem ass behavior, right? The community box is not the box that most men of stature are choosing. And I ain't saying they community box. I'm saying the presentation
it's implied in your statement.
It is, and that is the presentation.
So you should just own it that you calling them community box, both Sierra and Kim.
I don't even know. I don't know nothing about Sierra at all. I'd be lying to you if I said I did. I damn near couldn't identify her. But the Kim Kardashian for sure foots into the box, for sure. Right, and I agree with you. Maybe he was going to fulfill a need. It's easy to fulfill it here. She's with me for whatever she's with me for. But from my male perspective, that's goofy shit.
But I also think Sierra came back home. Everything I know about Sierra's background is Future was a total outlier for who she was. She was a dancer, artist. She's the kind of girl who'll go to the fancy art school. She wasn't the girl that was depicted in her songs and whatnot. So I feel like she went back home to what she knew was good for her. And she just happens to be attractive beyond belief. Please call me or hit me up in a DM.
I'm have to go see who this is. I don't know what she look like.
Sierra's beautiful.
She's fine. But she went back to what she probably dated her senior year of high school. She went back to what she probably saw in her family or the men and valued, and it happened to be Russell, and he just happened to be an NFL player, Super Bowl champion, right? And that the dude who fits the archetype of in that bracket range now. So I don't think it was just him chasing this thing to fill his holes in his. I think they just aligned, and thus we've seen the beauty of that alignment.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, she grew up with a dad and a 2-parent home. Absolutely.
Because how many women go for the bad boy first?
98% of them.
It's a lot of them.
I know it hurt my heart my sophomore year in high school. That's why I became bad because of that shit. I was tired of this.
I've only dated lames, so I got nothing.
I've been on both sides of the fence. I'm a 87 Street.
Oh my God. Now that we've somehow come back that Sierra is, I don't know. I will say this, and then we're gonna
got them goodies. I heard she got them goodies.
Per her song, right? You know what? I'm not even gonna go there. What I will say is
superpower vagina.
We talk about vagina all day. Now we can't talk about vagina. That's crazy.
No, we can talk about my superpower vagina as we have been for the last 30 minutes.
Got one too.
Right.
She got some superpower knees. Absolutely, because my knees can't do none of that shit. All right. Well, gentlemen, Rob, Khalid, Darius too. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I needed this male energy. Not that False don't bring the male energy, but he doesn't bring it like this. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me and talking about the young boys and the lonely boys and why not Future. Russell Wilson is a lame. We'll be back next week, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Maybe some of these people will show back up. False will be back next week. We won't talk about something nearly as serious. We'll have some fun though. Bye, guys.